Hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I hope you enjoy this continuing on the street, on the move, on the travel YouTube channel content, and today will be the day I earn that subscription as I stumble over my own intro. We have got a bunch of stories for you today of varying degrees of interesting, and so let's just go ahead and get started right away with our first story of the day about Angelina Jolie, who it has been revealed has sued the federal government in relation to the Freedom of Information Act request. So she thinks that the federal government is hiding information. She originally sued under a pseudonym of Jane Doe, which always a little bit irritates me that when they have the lawsuits under a pseudonym, because there's a presumption of public access, and courts, I don't think, take it seriously enough with that presumption. But anyways, let's read a little bit about this story. After much speculation, the subject of an anonymous 2016 lawsuit in which the plaintiff alleges being assaulted by her then husband on a private plane has revealed to be Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. So this is 6 years ago. This lawsuit happened for access to Freedom of Information Act that were illegally holding documents back. And it's only becoming now known that it was Angelina who filed. I don't disparage Angelina Jolie or anyone else having access to the court system. I do have a problem with people doing it anonymously, except in the grave situations. And I'm not sure this is it. So anyways, according to the report, several years ago, Jolie told an FBI agent that Pitt physically and verbally assaulted her and their children when they were aboard a plane. Per the agent's notes at the time, Pitt allegedly took Jolie to the back of the plane, grabbed her shoulders, and shouted things like, "You're effing up this family." Jolie alleges that on the same flight, another physical altercation occurred, which caused her to sustain injuries, including one on the elbow. How serious an injury is not specified. She also said Pitt was drinking at the time and had poured beer on her. Pitt's team has, of course, denied all accusations. The special agent for the FBI, and again, what makes a special agent special is they have the power of arrest. So that's typically who would be front-facing, would be a special agent, because, that makes sense. Then met with the assistant U.S. attorney and concluded they would not pursue criminal charges, causing Jolie to anonymously file the Freedom of Information Act suit against the FBI in order to obtain documents relating to the federal investigation. So she'd like to get access to information about why they didn't pursue this, which I already know is not discoverable. It goes to internal processes, internal deliberations of an agency. I believe that's Exemption 3 under FOIA. It's in there. But yeah, basically you can't get access to internal deliberative memos inside an agency. You can get access to anything outward looking, but internal deliberations, not so much. So that doesn't sound like that's going to be a lawsuit that will work. That Jolie granted permission to file the case, that Jolie was granted file permission in the case anonymously, was an intriguing decision. Yeah, I mean, I do have problems with it. Like, why is she proceeding anonymously? I understand that'd be fodder for the tabloids, but we do have a presumption of public access to the courts. So, yeah. According to Jolie's lawsuit, which was amended in August, Miss Doe, of course, because she was referred to anonymously, had been seeking withheld information for several years in an effort to ensure her children receive qualified care and counseling to address harm suffered. It's a little bit unclear what information the FBI could even theoretically have that would be suitable to those aims. Like, what that would be. But okay. Information withheld by the DOJ and FBI contains evidence of harm. But you already know all that because you were the one harmed, right? So how does the FBI know anything that you don't know, right? They know what you told them. They know your medical information you shared with them. So what are you trying to learn that they don't already know? What Pitt told them? I mean, but how does it help you? It's not clear. All right. The persistent denial of information to Doe, a victim of assault, has hampered and continues to hamper her efforts to obtain for her children necessary ongoing care and medical attention. How? How is it hampered? What's the FBI going to tell you that's going to assist you in getting ongoing care or in getting medical attention? I don't know. And it's further harmed the children in the family law system. How? The FBI doesn't have anything. Okay. In 2016, Pitt was reportedly under investigation for abuse by both the FBI and Los Angeles Department of Children and Family Services after an incident occurred on his private plane. Pitt allegedly got physical with his son, Maddox, and then after the then 15-year-old intervened in the fight between Pitt and Jolie. So, like, Maddox is a witness. He can testify. What is the FBI going to tell you that you don't already know? Pitt's team has denied he hurt his son, including the following statement to People. He is emphatic that it did not reach the level of physical abuse, that no one was physically harmed. Now, this is carefully worded, mind you, because does not reach the level of physical abuse and that no one was physically harmed does not imply that it wasn't physical, which doesn't necessarily, of course, make it wrong. Just because it's physical doesn't make it illegal, particularly when you're talking about one's own minor children, right? It might be proper in some respects. He did not hit his child in the face in any way. We might have hit him other places. He did not do that. He's emphatic about that. He put his hands on him, yes, because the confrontation was spiraling out of control, which just because he put his hands on him does not make it abusive. And so maybe that's what the FBI concluded. There was not enough information to demonstrate abuse, to convict, or proceed. Shortly after the incident, the celebrity couple got divorced and Pitt publicly gave up drinking. No charges were filed. So that is basically the end of that. End of that story. And, you know, there isn't really a lot to say about it. I mean, the FBI did their investigation, as did Children's Services. Pitt admits to physically touching them, but not to abuse. Just because we see signs of physical interaction does not imply criminality. And certainly not necessarily enough for the FBI to be interested in it, or the U.S. Attorney to be interested in, or Children's Services to be interested in. This lawsuit doesn't really make sense. I mean, on first principles, because what does the FBI know, or what can they know, that would help Jolie? She knows what happened to her and her children. She can relay that information, and her children can relay that information. Her child was, 15 at the time? That's competent to testify. What is the FBI doing for you that you don't already know? You're trying to get to why they made the decision not to prosecute. But that's prosecutorial discretion. And even if there was some evidence that would support some sort of physical altercation, not enough for the FBI to be interested in. So I don't really 100% understand this FOIA lawsuit on any level, to be quite honest. But that is all there is to know about that. Mark says, okay, if you're done, please explain op amps to me. What is op amps? Did I just get trolled? I feel like I just got set up. I'll take some of your other questions while we're figuring out how I just got trolled. Hello, A. Hedinger. Hello, Mr. Armageddon. Hello, Primer. Hello to a, let's see, who else is here? Secret McSquirrel is here, doing the Secret McSquirrel thing. Not a secret to this channel. And here appreciated, to be sure. Stephanie is here. We're glad to have Stephanie here. As I've been telling you guys, Stephanie has been ill. And we do appreciate everyone who's been offering support. And we continue to wish Stephanie a very, very speedy recovery and to be able to help get doctors who don't have their heads up their ass. Because apparently this has been a problem. So we stand with you, Stephanie, and we believe in you, and we're here to help support you. And we believe that you can, we believe that you can do it. We're with you together. Let's all stand. Team Stephanie, yeah. Okay, let's see. Who else is here? Johnny's here. Mark is here. Who else? Carolyn Knight is here. Hello, Carolyn. Mark Shade says good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Shade. Iris in Texas. Hello, Iris. I live in Texas. I'm not currently in Texas, but I'll be in Texas again soon. JT is here. SB in Tennessee. Kleisfist. And other people. And also, we have some gifted memberships from Primer. Thank you, Primer, for donating some gifted memberships. It is very appreciated. We do appreciate everyone who is helping to support the channel financially. And it is awesome. It's an electronic thing. Operational amplifiers. Okay, I have no particular knowledge on that one. In response to Bill for $4.99, I suspect she's mad at the government wouldn't prosecute Pitt. They might not be interested. It might not be serious enough to prosecute. They might not have enough evidence. They have better things to do with their time. Stephanie says, please stop the off topic. Stephanie, with all possible respect, I believe that communicating with the chat and engaging with the chat is a nice way to show community interaction. I think it's a pleasant thing to do. Let us continue with some more stories. A judge has given Trump until Friday to better explain why he wants a special master. So we've covered this already in part. I thought the lawsuit raised some really good points, and the judge wants some further clarification. Now, I will take a note here that it's a little late in the day. I was talking about the computer stuff. Oh, okay, fair enough. And then I misunderstood your. Yeah, I don't know anything about that particular technology. Anyways, in response to Trump's filing his motion, the judge has asked for some more specificity in some place. Now, I will take a note that it's a little late to file this request. The request isn't bad. In fact, it was well written, but it's a little late. Normally, you file this kind of request immediately after documents are searched and seized. And it's been a hot minute, so it's a little late. So, all that good stuff. A federal judge in Florida has given Donald Trump until Friday to refine his legal arguments in his request for a special master. The district court judge in the Southern District of Florida ordered Trump's lawyers to elaborate on their arguments for why the court has the ability to step in, what exactly Trump is asking for, and whether the Justice Department has been served with his motion, which is, reasonable. The judge has also asked the Trump team to weigh on any effects the request might have on the separate review conducted by the magistrate judge. So you're asking one judge to potentially rule on something else another judge is doing. So what potential impact is that having? The judge order showcases many of the ways the complaint filed by Trump has fallen short of what would have been expected, particularly in search of high stakes. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it had, it was a little late in time, but I thought it was substantively good. If it needs a little bit of help, then fine, but I thought it was reasonable. What she's asking is, what are you doing in front of me? That's an ungenerous way of characterizing what the Trump said, what the judge said. The judge wants some clarification on some points, but I didn't think it was that hostile, but okay. All right. Generally speaking, it's not outside the legal norm for Trump to want a special master involved in the review of evidence seized from his Florida residence. This is true. This would be not uncommon. It's when you have privileged information in particular. His former lawyer, Michael Cohen, successfully sought appointment of a special master when Cohen's offices as the residence were searched. Right. This would be another way it's common. Right. If a lawyer's office is being searched, there's a lot of privileged material there. So you want a special master to be able to review it. But you file that motion immediately. But Trump waited 2 weeks before making the request. This is a problem. The timeliness is a problem. Raising eyebrows because of how far along in the process the Justice Department is likely in reviewing what was seized. Yeah, I mean, they've probably given at least everything at least a once-over, right? Just quickly, before reading anything in substance. So it's a little late. And when Trump did file his request with the court, the complaint leaned heavily into political accusations, while it's been light on sort of legal discussion that would explain to the court why it should intervene and what authority it has. While Trump did cite court rules, they say give the judge the authority to grant the request. They cited the rules as civil procedure, without any explanation why those rules should be applied in the context of a criminal warrant. There were some legal deficiencies, to be sure. We've noted those problems. It wasn't perfect, but I thought it raised some good points, and I think the political aspects show why there might be need here that isn't otherwise obvious. So I thought there was a little good. I thought it was pretty good. Trump also did not file with the complaint the kind of separate request, such as a motion for a temporary restraining order, that would have sped up the timeline for the judge to consider what Trump was asking for. Nor did Trump's legal team file any declarations, statements from lawyers who were said to have been interacted with the Justice Department to back up the complaint of the factual matter. That would have also been helpful, because Trump is saying some things happened, and some other people he says were there, and he could have provided some affidavits, declarations, that would have backed that up. Instead, the complaint retread allegations about the FBI investigation in 2016, which is not wholly irrelevant, showing that the FBI has, with respect to Trump, behaved in a less than honorable way, is reason to look at this harder than you would otherwise. It doesn't necessarily mean anything is wrong here, but it does provide a reason. It's like, well, the FBI has been screwing with him before. Elements of the FBI and elements of the DOJ have been screwing with him before. And so the idea that it's happening again is not exactly unfounded. Particularly when you have, as Trump pointed out, people in the past lying to the FISA court to get FISA warrants that allowed them to review his materials while he was still a candidate for office in 2016. The FBI did some questionable things. So, yeah. Some guy, Schnapp said it read more like a political message than a legal document. I disagree. I thought it was fine on the law. It could be better, but I thought it was fine. They didn't really ask for anything. That's the craziness. They did ask for something. The appointment of a special master. They didn't ask for anything to be done in the immediate future to slow it down, even though it's what they claim to be doing. 499 from Bill. If Biden waived executive privilege for documents in question, does this set a precedent for future administrations? Precedent is probably, strictly speaking, the wrong word. It creates history, and then that history can be used by future administrations. It doesn't create precedent in a legal sense. Because if the presidents had the ability to do it but just never did, then it doesn't give them more power. It's just something that they have the power to do that they haven't been doing. So, yeah. So that's what's going on with Trump, and that's pretty interesting. Let's take a look at another story. All right, some potentially good news for borrowers of student loans like myself. This may or may not impact me, I'm not sure, because of economic cutoffs, but now I'm a full-time YouTuber. Maybe it does. I don't know. We'll see. But we have President Biden has announced a student loan relief of $10,000 on federal loans and $20,000 for people who have Pell Grants. So it isn't relief of everything. It only applies to people who are below certain income thresholds. So I'm not sure whether or not this impacts me or not. So we'll have to look into it, but we'll see. So President Biden has canceled $10,000 of student loans for low to middle income borrowers of federal loans. And this is from the White House in terms of being a fact sheet. So I'm going to read some of this. It goes on for 12 pages. I'm not going to read all of it. President Biden believes that post-high school education should be a ticket to the middle-class life, but for too many, the cost of borrowing for college is a lifelong burden that deprives them of that opportunity. During the campaign, he promised to provide student debt relief. Today, he's following through by just creating money out of nowhere, which probably leads to inflation. Since 1980, the total cost of four-year public and four-year private college has tripled, even accounting for inflation. That's true, and a lot of that has gone to administrative costs, administrative burdens. You know, a lot of administrators getting paid on the dole. And so, yeah. This has left many students from low and middle income families with no choice but to borrow. The typical undergrad student with loans now graduates with $25,000 in debt. Is that all? Okay. So here's the cost of college and relative to Pell Grants. And you can see the cost of college has gone wildly up as Pell Grants have remained relatively flat, at least according to this graph. The skyrocketing cumulative federal student loan debt, $1.6 trillion and rising for more than 45 million borrowers, is a significant burden on American middle class. The middle class borrowers struggle with high monthly payments and ballooning balances that make it harder for them to build wealth. For the most vulnerable borrowers, the effect of debt is even more crushing. Nearly 1/3 of borrowers have no degree. That sounds like, you should have probably finished up your degree. Many students could not complete their degree because the cost of attendance was too high. Okay. About 16% of borrowers are in default, including nearly 1/3 of senior citizens with student debt. I mean, student debt will follow you forever, which can result in the government garnishing wages. The student loan debt also disproportionately affects black borrowers. There's that racism I know that I was going to see. 20 years after first enrolling in the school, the typical black borrower who started college in 95-96 still owed 95% of their original debt. The typical one, really? It sounds like we're getting some bad deals there. All right, so what is the upshot of this? The Department of Education will provide up to $20,000 of debt of cancellation to Pell Grant recipients with loans held by Department of Education, and up to $10,000 of debt cancellation to non-Pell Grant recipients. Borrowers are eligible for this relief if their individual income is less than $125,000. Yeah, I think I'll be okay. I'll have to double check. No high-income individual or high-income household in top 5% of incomes will benefit. To ensure a smooth transition and prevent unnecessary default, the pause in federal loans will be extended one final time. I wonder if I've been making payments on my federal loans this whole time or not. I'm actually not 100% sure, which is disturbing. But yeah, maybe I'll get some $10,000. That'd be nice. So we're also going to cut monthly payments in half, which if we have the same interest rates, and it caps monthly payments for undergraduate loans at 5% of a borrower's discretionary income. So if we're capping it, then those loans will just go on for longer. Fix the broken public system loan forgiveness program. That would be helpful because that program needs some help. Reduce the cost of college, and so forth and so on. So, yeah. Nearly all Pell Grant recipients come from families with $60,000 or less. Okay. The Pell Grant is one of the most effective financial aid programs, but its value has been eroded over time. Students with loans are eligible for debt relief. So I'm not sure exactly how to go about applying for this, but I guess I will find out. The Department of Education worked quickly and efficiently to set up a simple application for borrowers. The application will be available no later than when the pause reoccurs. So it'll be no later than the end of this year. So I will be filing an application at the end of this year, which, based on my income this year, I should qualify for this. Unless my YouTube channel does really, really well. And even then, I probably still qualify for it because I just filed for an LLC. So technically, I probably should have done that a long time ago. But yeah, starting soon, it will be Uncivil Law LLC. That will be the producer of these episodes. So that segregates the business income from my personal income. So, good times. Look forward to that. Thanks to the American Rescue Plan, this debt relief will not be treated as taxable income. Excellent. That's good news. The administration is reforming student loan repayments so current and future low-income borrowers will have lower monthly payments, and also can cancel the debt once they make 20 years of payments. 499. Will the loan forgiveness apply to future loans? Presumably not. I don't think so. I'm just reading the policies as they go, and I don't think it's forward-looking. So it doesn't apply to people accumulating new debt. Well, unless in so much as it caps their monthly payments. So it caps their payments to 5% of discretionary income. Raise the amount of income that's considered non-discretionary. Forgive loan balances after 10 years instead of 20 years. And cover the borrower's unpaid monthly interest. So that's forward-looking, I suppose. So there's a lot there. So that's a lot of specific savings. So something for those of you like myself who have loans, and I'm not sure how much of it's private and how much of it's federal. It's just a check that disappears every month is basically what's been happening to me and so many other people. But yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Ray is here. Hello, Ray. We've been waiting for you. Thank you for coming, Ray. We appreciate you being here. Julia's here. We appreciate Julia being here. Skull Cram. Tread. No One in It. Charlene. Skid Avery. Nicole Jordan. Kelly says you appreciate my commentary on Rakita's stream. I'm glad. I didn't feel like I offered or contributed very much to the stream last night, but I'm glad you enjoyed as much as I gave. Why do you get forgive for not having college fund? I don't know. I'm not the one who came up with it. Diane is here. Julius is here. Azeroth is here. Glad you made it. A whole bunch of people getting some memberships. Glad that you're here. You love me on next stream? Well, I feel honored. Thank you. That's very nice of you. Thank you. Do both partners in a marriage need to have debt to qualify for the extra forgiveness for married people? I don't know. These are questions I don't know the answers to. But something to look forward to that you can look into. Checking to see if you're still a member? No, not Nicholas. If you had a membership above the 99-cent level, I canceled it. Because of, well, reasons that are not important right now. So if you want to rejoin, that would be appreciated, but you're not still a member. So, but if you had a membership above the 99-cent level, I canceled all those memberships. I'm an evil rich man for taking advantage of the tax law? Yeah. Let's go with that. All right, let's cover another story. Let's cover the story that's going to be the hardest to cover in terms of YouTube censorship issues. All right. So, I make a good straight man? Thank you. That's nice. I'm the straightest of men. Respect. All right, so let's cover this story. So this involves some trans person, and the trans person in question had been caught up in a police sting that involved children and was let go, apparently. So we're going to have fun with all the words here, trying to get around the YouTube issues, but we're going to give it a shot. Okay, so we're going to give this a shot, and we're going to cover this story. This is a story that will make us mad. A trans, purely attracted person to the minors is free after attempting to meet a child and a baby for purely related purposes. Depicted on right is this alleged trans minor attracted person. So that is apparently who was caught up in this police sting and then let go. Here's apparently what has happened. The Berkeley police, so this is Berkeley, California, because of course it is, allowed a suspected minor attracted person to walk away from a sting conducted by people who are trying to find such people, despite being shown evidence that the person had been expressing interest in the prurient relationships with multiple children, including an infant. There are some really screwed up people in this world, it has to be said. On August the 20th, an anti-minor attracted person vigilante group, which is called Predator Poachers, nice, uploaded footage of a sting they conducted in Berkeley to a YouTube channel involving a trans-identified male who had been purportedly seeking to meet a 9-year-old for the purposes of the prurient interactions with the 9-year-old. The girl was in fact a decoy established by the group as part of a months-long investigation into the man, who goes by the name of Sophia Westphal. Okay, that is what's being suggested. Here is a picture of trans person Sophia Westphal. Okay, speaking to Redux, which is the publisher of this particular article, the predator hunter, Alex Rosen, says Westphal, who is the person who has been suggested as being involved with this, contacted the decoy Instagram account in April, and soon afterwards began initiating prurient conversations with the child. Okay. That is something that's happening. Rosen, who is the leader of this vigilante group, is a full-time anti-minor attracted person vigilante, and he and a small team have traveled across the United States, conducting stings on predators since 2019. Ample evidence is gathered prior to confrontation, and police are then called. Rosen has told Redux the sting uploaded on the 20th had actually been conducted on June 7th when he and his team were in California. Sophia was one of the reasons we were in California, but we actually had multiple suspects in the state, he explained, noting that Sophia had been picked up by 2 different decoys on 2 different platforms, Instagram and Telegram. Rosen says both decoy accounts have been populated using altered and AI-generated photos. Rosen provided Redux a number of screenshots belonging to conversations Westphal had with the decoy. Westphal tells the girl that he had self-expression experiences to thought about her, the minor, and suggested a number of ways that they would like to pruriently interact. I'm thinking of other things, too. Maybe tickles, Westphal wrote in one message. Kisses and touches all over. Kisses between your... Wow. Okay. Kisses between your legs, especially, apparently the message said. Exciting and fun. Here we apparently have a screenshot of a series of messages relating to this thing. Apparently, the trans person said the following. Well, you know, I love young girls. I'm just excited thinking about how much fun it could be to play in bed with both of you. To which the vigilante group says, heh, oh, I think I have another sister, but she's probably too young. She's only 1, LOL. To which the trans person apparently said, that doesn't bother me. Never too young to start learning. These messages are disturbing to me. These messages do not please me. Here is apparently some messages we have. Apparently, 1-year-old is not too young to start learning. That's great. Disturbingly, the trans person Westphal suggested that he wanted to purely abused the girl's 6-year-old sister, saying, quote, "Well, you know I love young girls. I'm just excited thinking how fun it could be to play in bed with you." The decoy then advised Westfall he also had a 1-year-old sibling, saying she's probably too young, to which Westfall responded, "That doesn't bother me, never too young to start learning." Wow. While Westfall would ultimately establish a meetup with the decoy, purporting to be 9 years old, he also communicated with a separate one of Rosen's decoys on the encrypted chat service Telegram. That decoy was intended to be a 9-year-old girl. That's 9 times as old. He sent some very illegal stuff to our decoy on Telegram, Rosen said, noting that it included extreme, purely abusive material relating to the children, appearing to show young children being purely assaulted. The trans person is apparently sending this content. Okay. Westfall also gave suggestions to the 9-year-old decoy on how to pleasure the more sensitive parts of men. We're giving tips to the 9-year-old, apparently. These tips apparently are the following. Some people like stroking a hand up and down over it, or you can wrap your wow around the something and something and something. It can absolutely be exciting. The filmed confrontation took place at Strawberry Creek Park in Berkeley, where Westfall thought they'd be meeting the 9-year-old he'd been interacting with on Instagram. Instead, Rose and his team showed up with a bunch of evidence they had printed off. In a dramatic video Rosen uploaded to YouTube on the 20th, Westfall is seen wearing knee-high boots, a skirt, a pink top, and a hat littered with a trans pride flag button. He immediately attempts to walk away from Rosen when he's confronted, and is even defended by unknown locals in the park who believes he's in need of assistance. Westfall continues to say, "Leave me alone and I don't want to talk to you," while hiding his face behind a medical mask. Well, keeping your mouth shut is always a good tactic, although a little late maybe. He refused to answer any of Rosen's questions and simply paces across the park repeatedly. At one point, the police apparently showed up, called by bystanders who believe Rosen was harassing an innocent individual. Rosen is seen trying to show the police the bundle of evidence and explains to mobile officers what his investigation uncovered, but disturbingly, police do not detain Westfall and allow him to leave the park, which is full of children, without resistance. Rosen tells Redux he was shocked by the decision. Based on what they showed him, it should have been an instant arrest, especially with lewd images that he apparently had sent. I never had a predator who was trying to purely interact with a 1-year-old, and unfortunately there's been a few that were not arrested on the spot. Police need to gather more evidence and check with the district attorney, but for places like Berkeley, like New York, they are known for not locking up criminals. This is probably true. Predator poachers, Rosen's team of anti-maps. And what do we do with maps? We put them on walls. Said they had calculated for poor police response due to the location, but they'd still been confident an arrest was going to be made because the evidence was damning. I was well aware that I was doing this catch in Berkeley and knew that what it meant for a cop response. But I thought that this is just so bad, the cops are going to make an arrest. I was that confident, especially with the suspect sending the decoy purely child abusive material. But I was wrong, sadly. Rosen also said the police had expressed frustration with him when he misgendered the trans person. Predator poachers, apparently, has successfully initiated arrests in multiple states, and 80% of the suspects he's confronted in California have been arrested the day of the stings, or in days after they spoke to police, but Westfall has not yet been charged with any crime. This person said they wanted to purely interact with the 1-year-old. They sent purely abusive material on Telegram. It was horrific, horrific stuff. All I could say is we've gotten people arrested for a lot less. Redux has reached out to the police department, which confirmed it had an open case number regarding the incident and suggested the matter was still under investigation. While Westfall deleted the Instagram profile he used to contact the 9-year-old decoy, he does have an additional account on the platform. While it's now defunct, the profile was primarily focused on taking photos of women in public without their consent. Well, I mean, as to that, if you want to take photos of anyone in a public space without their consent, you don't need it. Now, obviously, you might want to consider their needs. But they are in public, right? You don't need someone's permission to take generally speaking, a photograph of someone in public, right? Anyone can take a photograph of anything in public. It's in public. So taking photographs of women without their consent, I mean, as long as you're not harassing them, as long as the camera's not, up in their face and stuff like that, as long as you're not, like, violating their physical privacy, you can take photos of anyone in public. You might want to consider whether or not that's wise, but it's not illegal. So among the many disturbing contents of the day, that is not the biggest problem. That is not the biggest problem. You can even take photographs of children in public. Again, whether or not you should is a whole other set of problems. But, if you wanted to take pictures of children at playgrounds, well, it's not illegal. You might get some attention, including from potentially the police, to which I would simply remind you, I don't want to talk about my day, is a viable answer to pretty much every question. Who are you? I don't want to talk about my day. Why are you here? I don't want to talk about my day. What are you doing? I don't want to talk about my day. What are you taking pictures of children? I don't want to talk about my day. Can we see the pictures? I don't want to talk about my day. It's a great answer for many, many questions. It's not illegal, but you might want to decide whether or not that's something you want to spend your time doing. Just FYI, but it is not illegal. On Twitter, Westphal is still active in posing. Among retweets of photographs, Westphal engages with trans activists and sometimes speaks on trans-related issues. The day after the sting, Westphal retweeted a post arguing it was prurient sex negativity to try and argue drag and queerness wasn't inherently sexual. Okay. The profile includes a link to a defunct WordPress blog he maintained titled Saphokia Sophia. Okay, so there's just some things that are happening. Puritan, yeah, Puritan. I got it. I got it. So yeah, that's something that's apparently happening in Berkeley. So that's it's from a special interest group. So there's reason to doubt, but apparently they've had some success in the past, and yeah. So I don't want to talk about my day, or I don't answer questions. Also can work. These are good. Like saying I want to remain silent is a little bit. You could do that too. I want to remain silent. You could just say that, which is not also the worst idea I've ever heard. Just say I want to remain silent. Like, what are you doing here? I want to remain silent. What are you doing? I want to remain silent. Are you taking pictures of children? I want to remain silent. You could just do that too. That's also an option. These are all good options. And they're all place fillers. I don't want to talk about my day, though. It does have a nice sort of ring to it. That suggestion, by the way, in particular, was brought to you by the Prop Brothers at Law. And I thought it was a good suggestion as a place filler. So, yeah. There is, don't talk to the police. Don't talk to the police. All right, another story for you. Also, tomorrow, I will be making shorts out of all these. So, yeah, then it becomes like, oh, you can see, if you want to see more, see my last live stream. So that's good. So that's like 7 shorts for tomorrow. Kick ass. Which, by the way, for those of you who are not aware, the Uncivil Law Shorts channel is back in business. Right? I've only uploaded a couple ones because they're tentative, right? We were just sort of like feeling out the waters. But the Uncivil Law Shorts channel is back in business. And the Uncivil Law TikTok is back in business. You hate shorts? Okay. Well, that being the case, the Uncivil Law Shorts channel is back in business. The TikTok channel is back in business. So what I'm going to be planning on posting is trying to post anything that's legally related, legal interesting, as it happens throughout the day, and try to get a list of stories. So we'll put together a list of stories, and then it'll become like the next day's thing. So these are now 7 stories I get to film about tomorrow and release. So exciting, fun. You like the bloopers? Yeah, this video is going to stay up. This video is not going to be edited. I still have to reconsider the whole batch record policy, but at this point, I've got so much stuff recorded that I don't need to worry about batch records. So, that's fine. I think it's good you're doing both, but I'm glad you're not mixing them together. Yeah, I'm not planning on mixing them together. I might do the occasional short on Uncivil Law, but my shorts are going to be on Uncivil Shorts and on TikTok, and then I'll just produce them, and they'll go in both places. And I have a ubiquitous thumbnail. Let's see if this works. No, that didn't really work. Hold on. No. Well, I'll get back to it later. I have something set up for it. We'll fix it later. I think you messed up my super chat, but if it didn't show, have you considered doing stuff similar to Law Talk with my commentary on YouTube trial content? But your style's not his. Am I going to do commentary on YouTube trials? Hell yes. We're doing commentary on trials. We're going to do the Murdoch case, which might have been delayed. I'm not sure, but we're planning on doing that in October. And unless the case gets sent back to the grand jury, and I'm crossing my fingers it won't, because I need it for the coverage, January, Daybell, coming to something near you. The Daybell case continues to persist on, and we are going to cover that in January, and I'm very, very excited about it. Daybell, Vallow, Uncivil Law, January 20. I should just start making like teasers like, movie trial style. Coming this January to Uncivil Law. It's the cult murder trial of the year. Daybell, Vallow. 2 people enter the ring. Maybe no one exits. We'll sell you the whole seat, but you only need the edge. You have to add the link to the Uncivil Law shorts on your subscriptions page. I'll look into that. Good times. All right, so let's go ahead and get something else done. Yeah, Daybell is going to be a hoot. Daybell is definitely going to be a hoot. Let's do another story. Okay, so the U.S. is set to extradite a Canadian writer who's been accused of faking their own death and kidnapping their son. Exciting. Dawn Walker, who says she's filed domestic abuse. $10 Canadian dollars from Mr. Armageddon, who says, I have no law degree, but my personal advice to all MAPs is to reach out to the police and explain to them your interests and why you think it's okay. Police like debates, offering them evidence helps. That is a suggestion from that commentator. Yeah. Carrying on. An acclaimed writer who says she fled Canada to escape domestic abuse is to be extradited from the United States amid accusations she faked her own death, kidnapped her own son, and illegally crossed the U.S. border. Dawn Walker, an indigenous author from Okansi Cree Nation in the province of Saskatchewan, was due to be driven to the border on Wednesday by U.S. officials and handed over to the Canadian police more than a month after she first went missing. In mid-July, her abandoned pickup truck was spotted in the park in the city of Saskatchewan, prompting fears that she and her son had drowned in the South Saskatchewan River. The disappearance spurs search by the Royal Mounted Police and Saskatchewan Police, as well as neighboring First Nations. A GoFundMe was set up to locate her son, raising nearly $40,000. But on August the 5th, Walker was arrested by Department of Homeland Security officials in the United States state of Oregon, who accused her of stealing the identity of a friend to cross the border into the United States and open up a bank account. She was also accused of abduction scheme to bring her 7-year-old son to the United States. He was returned to a legal guardian in Canada on August the 7th. Walker, who was previously the CEO of the Federation of Sovereign Indigenous Nations, issued a statement soon after she was arrested saying she feared for my safety and that of my son, and that she was failed by the Saskatchewan justice system, the family law system, and child protection. There's legal remedies, and this is, Her son's father has denied any wrongdoing. The parents have been involved in a lengthy custody battle, and Walker's son was due to be with her father on the 25th of July. The Saskatchewan police say any previous allegations made by Walker about the boy's father were investigated, but no charges have been made. Walker disagreed, saying the police only cared when they thought I was dead. Well, yeah, they're going to care quite a lot when they think you're dead. They're going to go looking for you when you're dead. Because maybe you were murdered. They're going to care about that. I am fighting a system that continuously failed to protect me as an Indigenous woman. And protect non-Indigenous men. It's the racism. Sure it is. Walker has long been a staunch supporter of Indigenous women fleeing domestic abuse and a critic of failure to address the sustained crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls across the country. She unsuccessfully ran for federal office in the most recent national election, and earlier this month was shortlisted for a prestigious Canadian Literary Award for her book, The Prairie Chicken Dance Tour. My friends, I fear there's nothing for it. I fear we are required. I fear that Uncivil Law is going to have to become a Book of the Month club at this point. And the books that we're going to get are going to be the more obscure. So I'm thinking maybe the first book for our Book of the Month club will be one of Chad Daybell's. I'll pick one of them, probably at random, because they're all probably about the same. Or I'll see the one that has the most Amazon sales. So that'll be our first Book of the Month club. One of the Chad Daybell books. That'll be good. And for our second book, for the second month, it can be nothing other than the Prairie Chicken Dance Tour. This is going to be the best book club ever. The Uncivil Law book club is going to be the best/worst book club of all time. Because it will never be a book you've ever heard of. Or that's any good. It will be different books. For fun and exciting times. The Uncivil Law book club is coming to a channel near you soon, I think. I think we're required. Okay. The Prairie Chicken Dance Tour book review is coming to a channel near you soon. It is heartbreaking that Dawn may have felt she has no other choice but to take the drastic actions she did, the FSIN chief made in a statement following the news of the arrest. Let us not forget. I want to listen to the first one you did. What's the title? Oh, that was when we read the Chad Daybell story. Oh, that was good. Yeah. I don't remember the title of the video, but look on my channel for Laurie Vallow and Chad Daybell. It's one of them. We read 10 pages of their instant message book. It was truly epic and wonderful. It was truly epic and wonderful in every way. Let's not forget that Dawn is a champion of First Nations women's rights and causes. She has spearheaded many missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls campaigns and gatherings. If there's anything we've learned, it's the urgencies of these MMIWG issues. MMIWG. Indigenous women is probably IW. What's missings? Okay, whatever. In Oregon court on Tuesday, a public defender said Walker was the victim of intimate partner abuse and been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress. Miss Walker, like most people in our courtroom, arrive here after experiencing some trauma in their lives, and it's especially true for the women who end up in our courtroom. What about the men? The men don't get any breaks from the trauma? I'm sorry that you weren't able to get the support you need at home and that you ended up being in an Oregon courtroom, the district judge said. I hope you're able to see your son soon. Walker waived the right to extradition hearing that could have lasted months. As an investigation into her finances, American prosecutors said in an affidavit that Walker had an elaborate plan that involved kidnapping her son and faking their deaths. The plan is that Canadian can proceed on the charges and will simply watch those unfold and, as necessary, deal with our own charges in the future, the U.S. Attorney has said. So the U.S. Attorney is happy to give Canada the first crack. Walker faces charge in the United States of felony aggravated identity theft and misdemeanor identity theft. The Saskatchewan police have also charged her with mischief and parental abduction and contravention to a custody order. Fun and exciting. Fun and exciting. Rosie says this is a real issue here in Canada. Well, I assume it is a real issue in Canada. It's also a real issue in the United States. Domestic violence happens. It's real. Intimate partner violence happens. It's real. It doesn't mean that every woman is falsely claiming. It also doesn't mean that every man is guilty. It also doesn't mean that you have the right to, fake your own death and kidnap your own son and transform international borders. I never said it wasn't real, but, there's some stuff there. All right, let's see if we can find anything of Chad Daybell's and read it together as a teaser. What makes normal identity theft turn into aggravated identity theft? I don't know. It's a statutory definition. You'd have to go look up the relevant charges and relevant things. I don't know off the top of my head what the distinction is. But let's see. Let's see if we got a Chad Daybell book. 1 Foot in the Grave. Is that a book by Chad Daybell? No, we want Chad Daybell books. The Great Gathering, An Errand for Emma. Okay, so the most popular book, apparently, is The Great Gathering, Standing in Holy Places, Book 1. All right, let's see. Do we have any text from this? Oh, yes, we do. Oh, the great Amazon has come to the rescue. All right. So here's some things we can look forward to in the future. I'm going to now share with you Chapter 1. This is written by Chad Daybell. This is called The Great Gathering, a novel. Standing in Holy Places, Book 1. And I am going to read for you Chapter 1. Oh, yes. I can already tell we're in for a good time. Are you guys ready for a good time? I'm ready for a good time. Here we go. I keep clicking away. It doesn't want me to read it. It wants me to save myself. It's far too late, computer. We're in it together. All right, here we go. Emma North was stacking the last of the dishes in the kitchen cupboard when a deep rumble filled the apartment and the floor rippled. Framed photos fell from the walls, and Emma was knocked to her knees. The rumbling seemed to go on forever, and the computer screen clicked off as the power went out. "Mom, help!" The cry came from the kitchen when Emma's 8-year-old daughter, Leah, had been at the kitchen table eating lunch. Emma crawled back into the kitchen and found Leah crouched under the table with SpaghettiOs splattered all over her face and onto the floor. Somehow she kept the food out of her short blonde hair. Emma huddled with Leah under the table until they were sure the earthquake was over. Then Emma glanced more closely at her daughter's messy face. "Oh, honey, let me help you up," Emma said. She quickly cleaned Leah's face and wiped the spilled food from the floor. "My bowl was bouncing in front of me," Leah said. "Did I do good to get under the table?" "Yes, you did," Emma replied, as she took her daughter by the hand and walked to the front door of their simple 3-bedroom apartment. They stepped onto the porch and saw mass confusion. Emma had planned for this last Saturday in October to include raking up an elderly neighbor's leaves and visiting a pumpkin patch with the kids, but it had turned into chaos. Emma and Leah grabbed their jackets and began a slow, cautious walk to the church. Cars were pulled over to the side of the road, and most of Emma's neighbors were out on their lawns. Several large trees were toppled, and there were electrical wires sparking along the ground. The apartment building across the street had a crack right down the middle. "I hope your brothers are okay," Emma said. Her sons, David and Charles, had gone to their ward building for basketball practice with the young men. Suddenly her cell phone rang, which surprised her since the power was out. She answered and heard the voice of her worried husband, Tad, who was putting in some overtime hours at his job in downtown Salt Lake City. "Is everything all right?" Tad asked, This quake seemed a lot stronger than the other ones we've been having. There's definitely a lot of damage in the neighborhood, but our apartment seems fine, Emma said. I'm worried about the boys, though. I think I'll go and get them. Probably stay at home for now, Tad said. They're just as safe at the church as they would be out on the streets. I'm going to try to get home. I'll call you soon. I love you. I love you too, Emma said, before hanging up. A feeling of despair passed over her. This wasn't quite the life she had envisioned when she and Tad had married. After nearly 2 decades of wedded bliss, they were still living in an apartment. The nation's economy was still chugging along, but it seemed the cost of living always stayed ahead of Tad's wages. Emma's thoughts were interrupted by the ringing of her cell phone. It was David, calling on the coach's cell phone from the church. They're canceling practice, he said. The basketball floor split apart. Well, that's a good reason, Emma said. Is Charles okay? He's fine, but a little scared, David said. Brother Chapel wants our parents to come pick us up, though, rather than let us walk home. I'll be right there, Emma said. She and Leah made their way down the sidewalk to the church. There were more than a few obstacles, such as city electrical crew that had just pulled up to work on a fallen line, and the man standing with a hand on his hips as he surveyed the tree across the driveway. As they reached the church, they were surprised to see a corner of a building had collapsed, leaving 2-foot openings and a pile of bricks. Mom, over here. Emma saw her sons, David and Charles, standing on the lawn. Does this mean we get to skip church tomorrow? Charles asked with a grin. Maybe so, Emma said. This looks worse than I thought it would. Just then, Brother Chapel came out of church and waved Emma. Thanks for coming to get the boys. I didn't want them wandering the neighborhood. I appreciate it, Emma said. Do you think we'll have our regular meetings tomorrow? I'd be surprised if we do, Brother Chapel said. The cultural hall and chapel are a real mess. Emma and the kids returned home just as Tad called again. He said the quake had caused the most damage in downtown Salt Lake than anywhere else, and the TRAX train that he usually traveled on wouldn't be running again for the foreseeable future. The earthquake had damaged the tracks in several places. Emma suddenly felt a little helpless. They had only one car, an aging minivan, and since Tad's office was only a block from one of the track stops, she had the minivan during the day. The arrangement worked out well, except in this case. Emma said, Do you want me to come pick you up? No, I found a ride, but it might take a while, Tad said. The quake buckled part of the I-15 near 600 South, and the traffic is a mess. Go ahead and eat dinner without me. Be careful and hurry home, Emma said. The boys are excited to tell you what happened at church. Emma then called her parents in Springville to let them know everyone was safe. They told her the quake had barely been felt in Springville, with just a little bit shaking. The Relief Society president then called to let them know that Sunday's meetings had been canceled and to make sure they were okay. Emma assured her that she was fine, but was saddened to hear that one of their ward members had been critically injured by a falling tree. Emma fed the kids their dinner early so they could watch the TV news. The quake made national news, and scientists estimated it at 5.7 on the Richter scale, with the epicenter a few miles north of Salt Lake. There was a lot of damage in Bountiful, but the Bountiful Temple was fine, as was the Hill Air Force Base a few miles north. The concern among scientists was that while this was a fairly powerful earthquake, it still didn't qualify as the big one, along the Wasatch Front that residents had long been awaiting. Everyone would still have to be on guard, especially since this series of tremors over the past year seemed to be growing in intensity. During the local newscast, the boys cheered when the station showed their damaged church. We're famous now, Charles said, causing Emma to smile. She was glad they were taking it so well. While Tad walked into the door about an hour late, he gave each of the kids a hug, then went to Emma and held her tight. What a day, he said in each ear. I miss you. How fun. How fun. How fun. So, yeah, Uncivil Law book clubs, books written by murderers. Or books written by murderers. We could do If, we could do everything, man. It would be great, man. So, that was a good chapter 1. I'm suspecting with all this wonderful foreshadowing, the great one will be hitting sometime around chapter 5 or 7. So, good times. It's actually not bad. I've read much worse. I know it is. You could do worse. Chad Daybell is not the worst author we've ever had, so that's promising. All right, let's cover another legal story, since that's ostensibly what this channel is about. Unless, of course, Stephanie wants to hear more readings from the book. We want Stephanie to feel well. Will it help Stephanie feel well if we read chapter 2? We could read chapter 2. Let's read a different legal story. All right, so the jury in the Kobe Bryant case has been urged to award $75 million towards widows and co-plans. So as you remember, Kobe Bryant died in a helicopter accident. There were some photos taken of him in the accident that were unauthorized by the police, and these photos were shared and potentially caused distress. And so the police department basically is being sued for violation of their rights. So you can argue it's not bad, but certainly not good. He's the greatest author of our age, man. I challenge you to name me a better author who's writing post-apocalyptic Mormon fiction. I mean, he is the best of the genre. All right, going to Kobe Bryant. On the 44th anniversary of the birth of NBA legend Kobe Bryant, an attorney for the widow has asked a jury in federal court to deliver justice on behalf of him and his daughter more than 2 years after James Patterson. Does James Patterson write post-apocalyptic Mormon fiction? Okay, there you go. The second best author of our age. This was a 10-day civil rights trial against Los Angeles County. Another day for tears for her and a final day of testimony after hearing from dozens of witnesses. Left Behind isn't Mormon. I was very specific in my claim. It was also the first day of closing arguments and the first time an attorney in the case put a dollar amount on what he wants the jury to award Bryant and Chris Chester, her fellow plaintiffs at the trial, $75 million for taking and sharing unauthorized photographs of the deceased body of Kobe Bryant. Chester's author, Jeremy Jackson, asked for up to $2.5 million each for their past 2.5 years of emotional distress, plus up to $1 million for each year of future distress, 40 years for Bryant and 30 years for Chester. Okay, so that's how they came up with the number. $1 million a year, every year. Okay. When I reach this point of closing argument, I'm usually anxious about not asking for too much, Jackson told the jury in closing arguments. I don't have that anxiety today because I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, you can't award too much money for what they went through. You can't stack it too high. You can't spread it too wide. What they went through is inhumane and inhumane. Oh, inhuman and inhumane. Nice alliteration. Bryant has not asked for a specific amount. Both she and Chester brought this case to trial after suing the county in 2020, several months after each lost spouses and daughters in a helicopter crash that killed 9. They are not blaming the county for the crash itself, but what happened afterward. They both accused county sheriffs and fire department employees of using personal phones to take graphic photos of deceased loved ones at the crash, despite not having a legitimate business reason to do so. The county says the photos were never posted online and were deleted shortly after the crash. But Bryant and Chester say they live in fear of the photos resurfacing because there's no way to be sure if they still exist somewhere, ready to pop up in any moment. 44 years ago today in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Kobe Bryant was born, Bryant's attorney told the jury as he began his closing argument. Today is his birthday. It's an honor to be standing here representing Miss Bryant, asking for justice and accountability on his behalf and her behalf, and on behalf of the daughter, Guyana, who would be 16 if she was with us today. Okay. Her remembrance soon to turn to sadness in court where the trial is nearing an end. After closing arguments resumed Wednesday, the jury of 5 men and 4 women will be tasked with making a series of decisions. Did the county's first responders violate Bryant's and Chester's constitutional privacy rights under the 14th Amendment? And there does seem to be some specific law in the Ninth Circuit that apparently says this is a constitutional interest, which I wouldn't think so, but apparently, according to the Ninth Circuit, and we're in the Ninth Circuit, so okay. So does it violate the constitutional rights by publicly disseminating crash scene photos, allegedly because they wanted them as souvenirs or objects of amusement? If so, is the county liable for it as an organization? Questionable. And if that's the case, how much should the jury award them for past and future emotional distress? Okay. Jennings Lavallee walked the jury through key points of evidence at the trial, including conflicting statements of those who took and shared the photos, as well as two main public incidents at which county workers shared the crash scene photos. One involved Fire Captain Tony Imbretta showing crash photos at an awards gallery in February 2020. When a witness testified, he overheard the photos included images of Kobe's burnt-up body, which they denied at trial. In another case, Jennings Lavallee told the jury the clearest example of violation came from the sheriff's deputy trainee, Joey Cruz, who showed crash scene photos at a restaurant bar 2 days after the crash. Maybe not the best time to do it. Kobe's daughter's name is pronounced Gianna. Okay, I'll try to keep that in mind, thank you. But Marion testified this week it wasn't true. He also said Jordan at one point texted him the location of Gianna Bryant's remains at a ravine in this crash site. Based on that, Chief Maroney understood that Brian Jordan had eyes on her in that ravine. Jennings Lavallee then accused Jordan of taking personal souvenir photos of a deceased child, not for any business purpose, but because he wanted to give the photos to himself to take them home with him as a trophy. Sitting at plaintiff's counsel in front of the jury, Bryant wiped her eyes with tissue as Jennings Lavallee delved into the subject. Can you imagine, Jennings asked the jury? You're charged with deciding whether that shocks the conscience. It shocks the conscience times 1,000. I'm not sure that's true, but that's their argument personally. And he publicly disseminated those photos after taking them by giving them to himself and walking off the scene that day. In December 2020, the fire department sent Jordan a letter of intention to discharge him because of misuse of the photos, saying the photos only served to appeal to baser instincts and desire for what amounted to visual gossip. Jordan decided to retire early instead. He testified last week that he was in court because of false allegations. They couldn't remember being at the crash scene that day and claimed not to know who Gianna Bryant even was. Jordan also was in court last week. Whatever happened to the hard drive on his computer, which was missing when he was required to turn it into his computer? He said he had no clue, leaving the plaintiff's attorneys to imply it could still contain grisly photos that could re-emerge. This was another key part of the plaintiff's case, destruction of evidence. Because the county employees deleted photos shortly after the crash, the plaintiff has no way of showing exactly what was in the photos or where they went. Their attorneys instead had to elicit testimony about what they contained from witnesses and then match them to descriptions of accident victims. You can presume the evidence would have been bad for them, they told the jury, which is something you can do in a civil case if you get the right instruction. You can infer that it's bad. It's not something you can do in a criminal case, but something you can do in a civil case. Jennings also told the jury about plaintiff's theory the county is liable for conduct of its employees because it failed to have adequate policies or training to prevent it. He showed the jury footage of the Los Angeles sheriff giving an interview in which he said cops have a tradition of taking and sharing gruesome death photos. It's been tolerated for decades, Jennings said. The county disputes this, but first the jury will have to determine whether county's employees violate the rights of Bryant and Chester. Chester's attorneys asked the jury to attribute half the damages as responsibility of the sheriff's department and half the fire department. They stole his dignity and family privacy. They did it intentionally, they did it cruelly, they did it inhumanely, and they laughed about it and they lied about it. And then they tried to fight it with clumsy, sloppy, and dumb cover-up, what times they couldn't even get their story straight. So yeah, that's what's happening in the Kobe Bryant case. So, I don't know about all that personally, but that's what's happening. And I wonder if I can adjust the image because I need, I think, a little bit more down. Can I adjust the camera while it's on? Let's find out. Yes, I can. Sweet. There we go. That's a little better, I think. All right, let's wrap this stream up with one last story. What do you guys say? Cool camera? Yeah. Now, I will say that I've had problems with this. This camera is it's a new webcam. It's the Insta360 Link. It's $300, so it's a fairly expensive camera. And I do have problems with it. Um, but I'm learning. The biggest problem I have so far is I can't quite get it to work with StreamYard properly. So I am streaming inside of OBS, where at least it works okay. I'm having problems with it in StreamYard with getting the camera to be recognized, and I'm also having problems with it when it does get recognized, also recognizing the microphone independently. Because the microphone is much better than the microphone that's embedded in the camera, as you would imagine. But the quality of it is a lot better, as we can see, right? So yeah, and I can do other things. Oh, and it's got gesture control, which is kind of cool. So let's see, yeah. So you can do gesture control, right? So it'll follow me around, right? So right now it's not set up to follow me around. The AI is not on. But if I do this gesture, it recognizes it, and then it'll follow me around, right? And then I can do this again, and it'll stop, and it'll stop following me around. And it's like, well, what if I don't like the zoom level? No problem. I can adjust the zoom level like this, right? So what if I want to be zoomed in more? What if I feel too zoomed in? So you can do shit like that. That's kind of cool, right? Yeah. So it has gestures that it will recognize. And as long as you're shooting in 1080 at 30 frames a second or less, you get HDR. And the sensor in there is a 1/2-inch sensor, which is a lot bigger than your normal webcam. And it does 4K. Not that I'd ever stream in 4K, but it's capable of it. And it also recognizes other gestures. Like it can also come down and look down and do downward looking at the desk. And it can also recognize a whiteboard. You put the tracker markers up in the corner to recognize a whiteboard, and it will automatically go to the whiteboard, and then it will adjust it so the whiteboard looks flat. And it's really, so it does like perspective correction to do things. So it does perspective correction like top down. It does perspective correction on other things. So, yeah. But it doesn't recognize gestures very fleeting. Like you have to be very deliberate about it. So even if I'm doing this, it doesn't recognize the gesture, right? It doesn't recognize this gesture. In order for it to do the AI tracking, you have to like hold up your hand solid for a minute, and then it recognizes it, right? So as long as you're not doing that, right? And you can also disable the gestures in the app. So if you don't like the gestures, you can disable them. It's an optional feature. So all kinds of things. So yeah, but I'm having a little bit of trouble getting it to be recognized inside StreamYard. So because last night I was on with Nick, I was able to get the camera working in StreamYard, but not the mic. So I was having to use the onboard audio inside the mic, which, isn't as good. But, if I can really get this thing working properly, it solves a great problem for streaming on the road, right? So that you don't have to because then all you have to do is take this mic, just a little lav mic, right? And just that plugs in. And just that thing just throws in a bag, easy. And yeah, and also of course because the camera is tracking. So if I do this, so it recognizes me, right? I can physically move the camera because it's on a gimbal, right? I can move it around. So even I can move it around and it recognizes me as I hold it in my hand. Pretty cool. It's on a 3-axis gimbal. It's pretty cool. And I technically could replace the background because the color of the background is probably uniform enough that I could use it as a green screen. So that's everything you wanted to know about that. I'm not 100% sold on it. The image quality is a lot better than any other webcam I've ever seen in my life. I mean, as a replacement for like a DSLR, because it's got a half-inch sensor in there and it can let a lot of light in. You know, it's a good quality camera. I'm planning on still recording. What I have at my home setup, but to use this on as an on-road setup, all you need is a laptop. And you can plug the mic in and stuff. It's not bad at all. Especially, yeah, the color's too similar. Yeah, you thought this was a virtual background? Oh no, that's actually just the wall. I'm at my parents' house. That's just the wall. All right, so let's read this last story. Let's wrap up our time together together. This is a webcam. Yeah, this is a webcam. Specifically, it's this webcam, the Insta360 Link webcam, the AI-powered artificial intelligence webcam. Yes, this is a webcam, and it also does very good on autofocus. Not bad, huh? I'm sorry for saying I thought it was yuck the other day. It's just the wall, man. It's just the wall. Am I having fun with my family? Yes, I am. I am. And I'm going to go see Rob from Law and Lumber this weekend. In fact, I'm going to go see him tomorrow night. That'll be fun. And I'm going to go see Natalie, the lawyer chick. And we're trying to see if there's a time when we can do a meetup in DC. And we are also finalizing a meetup in New York, which would be a week from Sunday. So that's Labor Day weekend, by the way, for those of you who care about such things. But pencil in a meetup with me, Joe Neerman, and Nate the lawyer at a bar in New York City on Sunday, the evening of Sunday the 3rd. More announcements will be coming shortly. We're trying to finalize the details. And if situation allows, we'll try to do something in DC on Sunday night as well. So that'll be fun. Yeah. Be safe in New York. I'll try. Thanks. I left you a gem on Twitter. Don't do the felonious things. The verdict is $16 million. Okay. Oh, it's been a while since we had the bots. It's been a while since we had the bots. $16 million. Okay, that's interesting. It's been a hot minute since we had the bots. I thought we got them all. Let's see. We need to go to Nightbot, I believe, is the one that does the filtering. So I need to add the mask to make sure that I get all the variants. So let me just go ahead and do that real fast while I'm thinking about it, and then we'll finish up our stories. Mm-hmm. All right, we'll just add that little mask to that, and that should get rid of the bots. It's been a while. CNN saying $31 million. You guys can't agree amongst yourselves? Let's take a look at this last story. A grand jury is weighing possible charges against the North Carolina Attorney General. A local North Carolina grand jury on Monday has advanced consideration of possible criminal charges against the state attorney general and two aides over an investigation into political ad targeting and election opponents. So, exciting times happen here in North Carolina. CNN and NBC can't agree. That's funny. After hearing from the State Bureau of Investigation, the Wake County grand jury asked for more information, presumably. The Democratic Attorney General, his campaign manager, and current Justice Department Chief of Staff were identified in a pre-sentiment document signed by the grand jury foreman. They've not been charged with a crime. No, not yet. Stein, a potential 2024 candidate, lashed out at the statement what he called a nonsense investigation. The investigation stems from a State Board of Elections complaint filed in fall 2020 by his opponent. He accuses Stein campaign of circulating a political ad that violated a 91-year-old libel law. The O'Neill campaign said that Stein's commercial, which accused the Republican of letting more than 1,000 sexual assault kits go untested, was false and derogatory because police, rather than prosecutors, are responsible for testing. Freeman, who's a Democrat, stated Monday her office could present the grand jury with a possible indictment as soon as next month, but a ruling earlier this week could derail. Yeah, because it's in the context of political campaigns, the libel standard is going to be probably viewed very differently. That seems problematic. So yeah, I don't know about all that, but the grand jury is looking at potential charges. Freeman has recused herself from the case, citing the working relationship and given to a senior assistant. The Stein campaign committee has asked the appeal court last week to issue a preliminary injunction blocking enforcement of the state law while they seek to strike it down as unconstitutional. It very well might be in this context. Political ads in particular get you a lot of leeway. Dating to at least 1931, the law makes it illegal to deliberately disseminate a false derogatory report that could harm a candidate's chance of election. The misdemeanor carries 60 days in jail and $1,000 in fines. So that's basically all that's going on. So, good times. $16 million for Bryant and $15 for Chester, the other person, so $31 million. $31 million for some photographs? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not sure I agree with that verdict, to be honest, but, the jury's spoken. They're them, not me. So I don't know about that. So that's all the things that are happening today. "30 highway patrol officers rolled up at Chipotle. Don't talk to the police. I don't want to talk about my day," is your answer to every possible question. $31 million does sound excessive. $31 million sounds excessive. Yeah, I tend to agree. It's like a $500,000. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I'm not really sure about any of that, to be honest. But that's what the jury thought, apparently. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, I suppose. That's all there is for today. We had a good stream, though. We had a very productive stream. We had an interesting stream. A stream in which I was happy to have you be part of it. A stream in which we are continuing to test out the new webcam, which will be suitable for travel needs. And maybe will be used for filming shorts. We'll see. Yeah. You don't want to talk about your day, but you enjoyed your show? Thank you. It's very kind of you. So I'm glad that everyone's liking this, and tomorrow I'll be up with Rob from Lawn Lumber. I doubt I'll be streaming tomorrow, but we'll be streaming Friday if we can. And we'll be streaming from the Woodmaker shop. And Rob and I might make something together. I'll assist. It'll be fun. Rob, do you want to build a snowman out of wood? Do you want to build a snowman? Do you want to use some pine? I want to sand it with you and shape it with you all the time. Do you want to build a snowman? A nice wooden snowman. Okay, bye. Ah, man. Good night, everyone. You could not see this coming. I believe you're going to do great. Make a carrot and fake coal snowman face kit. Thank you, Libby. Thank you, Stryart. Thank you, Shade. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, A. Fromer. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Zal Storm. Thank you, Libby. Thank you, A. Hedinger. A. Hedinger always here. Leading the crew, leading us strong. Nicole Jordan, thank you for being here. Cyber Selfie Queen. Hopefully Rob sings a response. Oh yeah, we're definitely going to have to work on it together. We'll do a whole chorus thing. It'll be fun. Kelly, glad to have you here. Thanks for the heart. We prefer orange hearts and cowboy hats, but we appreciate your thoughts. All the same. Snuggle Seal. Okay, thank you, Snuggle Seal, for being here. Thank you for the hugs. Statuesque Misk says must be a duet. Could be. Laurie says Southern cooking. Yum. Southern cooking is good. My mom is a hell of a cook. I'll tell you that for sure. She is a hell of a cook. Her food is awesome. Gina, hugs. Thank you very much. Rosie, orange heart. Thank you very much. All right, I'm going to sign off. If you have been enjoying this content, please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Do all those YouTube-y things because the YouTube likes it. If you hit like, the engagement will be helpful. Is your subscribe button red? It's sad. This can be rectified by clicking in it, and that will no longer be sad. It'll be nice, calm, gray, just like it's meant to be. Click the subscribe button today. And did you know for a mere 99 cents you can become an uncivilian? It's true. By hitting that beautiful join button. Or by hitting the gift button, you can help people become uncivilians and help the Uncivil Law Army grow. I've been Uncivil Law. Until later, my friends, I hope all is well. Cheers, my friends, and goodbye.